maybe have some attraction for each other, but, you know, really kind of have a sense of brotherhood to it. It's very, very nice.
That was 1991, right?
That's right.
Now, these caucuses, I know you facilitated, in fact, you facilitated the White Caucus this morning, but you facilitated these multicultural caucuses more than once. What, you know, you and I understand what the caucuses are, what the purposes of the historic record. What in your view is the function of these caucuses as they've developed at our convention?
Well, I use the term, and people usually say, what? When I describe an in-group process. Probably the easiest analogy for me to use, and I look apologies to perhaps women, or perhaps apologies to other people who don't quite think that it applies, but the idea is that in a white caucus that there would be all white people talking about issues that are pertinent to white people, and that might be easiest to talk about it amongst each other. Same way with the black caucus or a multicultural caucus, where people might feel they have a multiracial identity or not really feeling that either part of those other two identities. And my analogy is, for example, if there is a support group for women who have been raped, it would be could potentially be very detrimental to have a man in that group. You know, and we don't give that much of a second thought, you know. And maybe the nature of the oppression or the nature of the issues aren't quite the same, but we recognize that there are some very important issues that people need to support each other in if they've had some shared common experience. And that's kind of, for me, the principle behind that. It draws out other dynamics. In our larger group, where I think historically there's been so much social, emotional / sexual, romantic attraction between interracially, the caucuses serve a way of kind of connecting up individuals who may be otherwise not communicating with each other as much, particularly for white members. That's been, you know, a good purpose over the years. You know, people were able to admit about the competitiveness that they felt with other whites in trying to pursue and get to know African American men. I suppose black men are talking a bit more about, you know, some of the shared issues or concerns around issues of oppression and so forth and so on. And then we wanted to have a space with a multiracial caucus that we offer that for people who might otherwise suffer that.
Now, have you attended all the conventions since Detroit?
No, I haven't. I attended Detroit in 91, Dallas in 92, Chicago in 93, Key West in 95. I did not attend. I was defending my dissertation proposal.
What about 94? That isn't listed.
94.
Arlington, Virginia.
Arlington, Virginia. Oh, that was, D.C., sure.
Yeah,
I was there. Mm-hmm. That was the ISMS conference, I think. Maybe, but in any case, Key West, I did not go because of the proposal. 96, Independence, Ohio, just south of Cleveland, I attended. And,
let me interrupt you before you go through them all and ask you if you have any specific recollections. If something really stands out in your mind as to particular conventions, or as to all of them, do you want to go one by one, or are there particular things that stand out in your mind in terms of your experience at convention?
Yeah, maybe I can just say the things that stand out for me personally. In Detroit, I remember meeting all these people, some of the Youngstown crowd, some of the Detroit folks, and what a sense of brotherhood. I mean, people like Don Moses. To me, he was like another John Teamer. I mean, he was about relating to people in a positive way, you know, and talk to the guy and end up feeling good, connected. In Dallas, I thought it was a fairly classy place. I remember Preston Pulliam and his hospitality and very hospitable manner in welcoming us. Let's see, in Chicago, we had some nice things that we did on side trips. Went along the river and so forth. If I'm not mistaken, in Chicago we had poetry by Essex Hemphill that he read some of his stuff that it was almost like swooning. It was so powerful. Let's see. Then in D.C., I have to think a little bit more, maybe look at an old program. And I think around there might have been the conference where we talked about breaking the isms, and a lot of good emphasis on that in terms of, what are the isms that we needed to address beyond racism and homophobia. Speakers there. In Independence, Ohio, near my hometown area of Northeast Ohio, probably the highlight of that convention for me was inviting yourself, Brunel Wiggins from Detroit, Bill Smith from Youngstown, out to dinner with my parents. My father today still recalls how pleasant that was, and I remember you actually connected with my parents so much that you had invited them to visit in California, and I remember my mother said, "Oh, well, what about Douglas for you?" And I wasn't sure what that piece was about, but I mean, she was quite enamored of you. I guess you guys had talked quite a bit.
That's the first I heard that.
Okay, well now you know, and other folks will know too, I guess. And Bill Smith came to be. My parents were also crazy about Bill because he would come to my parents' house where I would be home visiting them, and so he would come over from Youngstown, and we would go out around the Christmas holidays. Bill would visit with me and my parents. We would go to brunch or something like that. Let's see. Okay, so that brings us up to Independence. Charlotte, that year I was defending my dissertation. I'm getting ready to. So I went to Fort Lauderdale. It was just incredibly fun, great setting by the beach. Didn't make it to Philadelphia, made it to San Francisco. It was nice to reconnect with people in the Bay Area after having been away. And then New Orleans, which is a beautiful setting. So much of the workshops and so forth kind of melt my background. Oh, I did present. Trying to think of some of the places I presented. Somewhere along the line, probably maybe Dallas, I'm not sure. John Teamer and I did an E-racism program. Yeah. And geez, we probably had 100 people attending that. Pretty good. I'm trying to think of what other anti-racism program. It seems like I've done others at the national. And then in San Francisco, I did workshops more in my area of psychology, managing depression and anxiety, and got to know folks a little bit more on that kind of personal basis.
What was the E-racism workshop like? How did that go?
Honestly, it's been over 10 years, and I don't have those specific numbers. Probably 3 years ago, I could have remembered it. I don't remember. Sadly. New Orleans, I submitted a proposal on that had mimicked chat night we had done in Cleveland, and I my friend Derek Barnett, who was one of the founders of Blackout Unlimited, that same gender-loving African-American group that was Afrocentric in Cleveland. And we had done a BWMT chat night in Cleveland called something to the effect, Gay Pride and Black Pride, carbon copy for two originals. So we were highlighting why, everybody asks the question, why have a Black Pride celebration? And so we developed an outline and kind of came up with and presented some of our ideas. And I remember in Cleveland that the co-chairs of Cleveland Pride had come, and they, got some more understanding why there was this, this other process was necessary. And I remember Derek very eloquently saying, he needed Black Pride so that, his blackness didn't matter and his gayness didn't matter. He could just be himself and be at home. Mm-hmm. And we brought that message to New Orleans, and it was very well received. I remember Mandy Carter, had encouraged us to, maybe do something with that on a more national basis and so forth. And we didn't pursue it, but we certainly have a good reception on that, and still do some of those kind of discussions and it's an issue that pops up in Cleveland. Last year I did an Miami Beach hearing in Kansas City in July 2003.
Well, now were you, I think you've been a chapter delegate to the House of Delegates several times.
Oh my gosh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. What kind of, do you remember some of the issues that you dealt with? Does anything stand out in your mind, or any of the interplay in the House? Maybe that's a polite way of putting it.
I am probably more of a touchy-feely process person. Where people can empathically connect and kind of speak their truth. And probably, to be frank, that hasn't been a central part of those processes over the years. And you're laughing at my understatement.
Yes, I am laughing at your understatement.
And that's very personally frustrating to me. Mm-hmm. And so when I can come this year, after some of the wounds of last year, even though I wasn't here, understanding the difficult words that were said, and it just pains me when we have people fall out of the organization because of words exchanged. I mean, we have a history of being an oppressed people, and the more that we can pull together and affirm each other and go on, as Paul Cloutier would say, as BWMT, I think that's important. We do have honest differences in perspective, and we need to sound those out, but probably in the most loving way possible. And I think there's some kind of bigger dynamic that in the past years has transpired about, maybe people not being able to connect in a supportive way as possible. So that's my general impression of that process. And again, I probably, and part of that bias arises from in my character, I want more positive strokes and so forth. That kind of thing.
You think that conventions have changed over the 13 or 12 years that you've been coming? Did the atmosphere change, the dynamics, or are they the same?
Well, I've wondered, maybe our numbers are decreasing. Maybe, I know historically we had people at conventions in college dormitories and so forth. The sense of unity is a little less than it was. But I'm very hopeful. I think having this new format of a membership meeting with our national co-chairs, leading the process, people that have been designated as our leaders as opposed to speakers of the House who are, not the fourth heads of our organization. So, those people, this year they provided some inspirational leadership. And people have done that in the past. They don't want to minimize past people's contributions. But our tone this year was conciliatory and inclusive and pretty upbeat.
Now, you're referring to this new format where the House of Delegates has been transformed into a general membership body in which the co-chair of the organization preside, and which national members, direct national members, all have one vote each, so as to increase their influence. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to get that on the record so people understand what we're talking about, because this is a new concept and it's just beginning this year.
I would hope that, in terms of that national direct member thing, there are a lot of other groups within the LGBT community where people have been able to sign on as national members, and they have some direct connection to the National Association, where we've had much more of a federation kind of decentralized kind of concept. So maybe this will help connect people more.
This is truly one man, one vote. Well, let me ask you this, and I want to ask you some general questions. How have you seen AIDS affect the organization since you've been here?
Oh, wow. A lot of devastation. We've had some moments of silences during this convention, and I've let my mind drift to different chapters, and I can very easily think of individuals throughout the country that have passed away. I could probably pick a chapter and come up with a person. Philadelphia, Dr. Jerry Mallon, who first did a combating racism manual. John Pugh, Dave Okonski, Jeffrey Harrison from Cleveland, John Tina, John McDonald, Roy Francis, to name a few. Reggie Williams, Kenneth Brooks from the San Francisco group, Vincent Henderson from Dallas, Ken Davis from, I don't remember his name right, from Chicago. Ken Allen, excuse me. All the contributions that he made over the years. Keith Robinson, St. Louis, Don Moses from Youngstown. And so that in each of these locales, we've all lost friends, mentors.
Well, how is being a member of this organization, locally and or nationally, affected or changed your life?
Well, I'm a very different person than I was 15 years ago. Through BWMT, through some work in graduate school, through social exposures in other areas, I have a much different understanding of how our society fits together in terms of whites relating to people of color, the emotional concerns and the impacts of racism upon people of color. I've studied it somewhat academically, and I've taught multicultural psychology, where we look at some of the different issues and concerns impacting different communities. All at the same time being aware of the potential impact of stereotypes. A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. You can't necessarily say that particular ethnic perspective applies to all members of that group, because people have different levels of culturation or socialization within their particular minority group as well as within their majority group. So people have bicultural identities, and they may have some of those characteristics of, generalities may not apply at all. And so it gives me, a lot of rich perspective, and certainly professionally, I talk with students of color in my counseling. I also talk with immigrants. And so the concept of bicultural identity and stresses that are associated with that really help people kind of contextualize some of those things and understand their experience. And so, I can speak with those things with some confidence and some authority in helping people kind of understand their experience. As well as the rich diversity that's blend to my own life and understanding my worldview. And, there's a lot of richness.
How do you think being a white man has affected your experience in this organization?
Well, being a white man who's tried to move toward an anti-racist identity, as we might say in our multiracial, multicultural institute lingo, and studied that idea in terms of the psychological literature, and my dissertation has been in that area. White racial consciousness is something that we have to learn about because it's the mainstream culture in which I grew up in. And unless you're aware of something different out there, you don't know what your cultural experience of being white is. So, as a white person, I've had to work through guilt. I've had to work through fear of the other. I have to, I am continually aware of power issues or ways of relating that, might somehow be different than my own, and having a greater awareness of that. So I think overall it's kind of helped my being more aware of my whiteness and my own individuality and my own preferences has helped me be more aware that other people have preferences and so forth that are different from my own.
What was the subject of dissertation, incidentally?
The title was the correlate of effectiveness for white therapists working with African American clients.
And what is a correlate?
A correlate is a variable or a quality that correlates with something else. And so I was doing a correlational study trying to see, looking at success rates, self-reported success rates amongst white therapists working with African American clients, trying to see if there was more social interaction in their past background, and I had developed a scale for that. I had looked at their scores on a racial identity scale, or racial consciousness scale, and some other variables. And I didn't get a lot of significant results because what I found largely was white therapists weren't working with African American clients. This is a sample of California psychologists who were members of the American Psychological Association. So it was hard to get some statistical significance there. I did get some beginning statistical significance approaching that in the area of a more integrated racial consciousness. People were doing a bit better there. So,
well, how have you seen race relations change since you've been a member of the OMT, either in society or in the group or both, if you've seen them change?
part of my last 13 years, I've ventured to California for 7 years in graduate school and then 6 years now in Ohio. And coming back to Ohio, I thought, oh my gosh, things really like this. Boy, a lot of segregation outside in people's social lives still. But there's some good things going on too. And my best hope is amongst young people to seem much more willing to minimize differences and in a realistic and genuine way. It's still hard to talk with young people about, the history of differences and the history of oppression. But in many ways, they seem positively predisposed to interact more so. So, there's some optimism there. But this is race relations is going to be a problem that's going to be going on long after I'm gone. When I was more involved with the dignity, the gay Catholic group, I used to kind of joke. I said, well, I'm confident that the Catholic Church would very soon address homophobia and have a better understanding of homosexuality, and it would happen very, very soon, within the next 200 to 300 years. Which, in my view, for the Church is kind of moving along. That's a pretty fast development, like within Catholicism. And so I have reasonable expectations of same kind of process around race and racism. So my niece and my niece's children and her children and on and on. It's really looking at.
You mentioned some difference in feeling when you returned to Ohio. Do you think there's a significant difference between Ohio and Northern California in terms of race relations or attitudes?
Yes. Cleveland, St. Louis, Detroit, and Chicago. When you look at census tract data, always end up being like in the top 5 in terms of racial segregation at people's homes. And even though that is much less so from years and years ago, there's still significant amounts there. The social milieu that I was in the Bay Area was much more fluid and open. So there was segregation everywhere. I certainly knew when I first came to the Bay Area, I was living in Alameda. My ex had told me to look up his cousin, who was gay and black, living on Lake Marion, Washington, with his black lover. He invited me to a potluck. There were like 50 gay black men there, 2 black women, 2 white guys. Like, well, yeah, there's separatism there too.
Have you noticed differences between, say, the San Francisco chapter and the Cleveland chapter in terms of race relations?
I don't know, it may have just been a function of the cycle of where I arrived in Cleveland, but when I got there, people weren't talking too frankly about the differences. And that there was, in the Bay Area, I think there was more consciousness about those differences and finding what they're talking about. Part of that, though, I don't know, I just perceive the Midwest as being less